Welcoming the governor of the great state of Maryland, Martin O'Malley.
Thank you. Hey, thanks. Thank you, Iowa. Hey, thank you. Back at you. Thank you. Thank you very, very much. I want to begin by thanking you for your indulgence in watching that little introductory video, and my apologies to those of you that thought you were settling in for the next episode of The Wire. Look, it's wonderful to be here in Des Moines, to be with so many great friends in Iowa. Turn to your neighbor, tell them Iowa's moving forward. Go ahead, do it. Turn to your other neighbor, tell them we need a fresh start. You guys have one of the most outstanding Democratic parties in the United States of America, and thank you, Scott Brennan, for your great work. Scott does an outstanding job as your chair. And Scott, I want to thank you for your leadership. I think that you understand better than most that in order for any of us as public servants to govern well, we need the Democratic Party getting stronger every day, and that's what you're doing in Iowa. To create jobs, to strengthen our middle class, to give our children a better future. With Scott's leadership and the hard work of all of you in this room, we are going to give Iowa a fresh start by electing Jack Hatch, the next governor of Iowa. Jack, I'm looking forward to campaigning with you today. You represent that sort of problem-solving, you and Monica, that sort of problem-solving leadership that every state needs. We need a governor who's on the side of the middle-class families of Iowa, their needs and their aspirations. I think the people of Iowa have had enough of the Branstad administrations, don't you? My goodness, 5 terms is enough, don't we think? It's time for a fresh start. And it's time to turn the page on cronyism and elect a governor who's going to put the needs of Iowa's middle-class families first every single day he goes to work. And Jack Hatch is that leader. Jack Hatch and Monica Vernon are going to move your state forward, but they're going to need partners. So let's make sure that Mark Smith is the next Speaker of the House of Iowa. Let's help Senators Gronstal and Yoakum keep the Senate with Democratic leadership moving forward. And we're going to re-elect Dave Loebsack to Congress, aren't we? And we are going to send to Congress Patrick Murphy, aren't we? And whoever the Republicans figure out they want to put up, we are going to elect Stacey Apple to Congress, aren't we, and break that glass ceiling. And we're going to beat Steve King and elect Fighting Jim Maurer, the next congressman from the Iowa 4th. Now, I'm sure also on your mind, especially given the outstanding service that came to our country from your United States Senator Tom Harkin, that you have an important U.S. Senate race here, don't you, this year? Yes, indeed you do. And there couldn't be a bigger contrast than the choices that the people of Iowa are going to be presented in Bruce Braley and Joni Ernst. Now, Bruce Braley's cause is the cause of a stronger middle class in Iowa, greater opportunity, an Iowa where everyone's included and where everyone is needed and where we help each other in order to move forward. Now, Joni Ernst, on the other side, she wants to get this. She wants to privatize Social Security. She wants to turn the Medicare into a voucher system. She wants to repeal the federal minimum wage. Now, how is any of that going to help strengthen middle-class opportunity and middle-class families in Iowa? Get this, she even wants to roll back the Clean Water Act and eliminate the Department of Education. How much less schooling you think would be good for our kids, Joni? Can you imagine someone with those sorts of extreme views holding the seat that Tom Harkin so ably filled on your behalf all of these years? Look, from education to agriculture, to his unflagging commitment to the sick, to the poor, to the voiceless, Senator Harkin's success can be measured by the millions of American lives that he has touched and that he has made better. And Iowa, and indeed the entire country, will be forever blessed because of Tom Harkin's great service. And I know Tom and Ruth would join me when I say, you want to know what a sort of lasting tribute you can give to Tom Harkin? You want to know what sort of tribute you can give to him and to Ruth after the thank you parties and the thank you dinners are done? The best tribute you can give to Tom Harkin's work is to elect Bruce Braley your next United States Senator. It's all about the beliefs we share, isn't it? About our belief in the dignity of every individual, about our own responsibility to advance the common good. And that's what I want to talk with you about today. I want to talk with you about the story of us, the ongoing story of us, the story of Baltimore and Iowa, the story of Maryland and America. When I was elected mayor of Baltimore in 1999, my city had become by that year the most violent, addicted, and abandoned city in America. And there was a big difference in those days between the Baltimore that we carried in our hearts and the Baltimore that we saw on our streets, the Baltimore that we saw on our headlines. And our biggest enemy wasn't drug dealers or crack cocaine. It was, in essence, a lack of belief, a culture of failure, countless excuses about how nothing would work and why none of us should even bother to try. And so we set out to make our city work again. We saw trash in our streets and alleys, so we picked it up every day. We saw open-air drug markets, and we began to relentlessly close them down. We saw neighbors suffering from addiction, so we expanded drug treatment, and we got more of our neighbors into recovery. And after a year, of hard-earned, life-saving, steady progress, we then turned a bright light on the heart of the despair that had gripped our city for too long. And we launched a campaign on television that we called simply Believe. The first ad was a 4-minute commercial, which the local news affiliates agreed to air simultaneously. And as a viewer, you walk through a day in the life of a 10-year-old African-American boy. Starts out with him warming his hands at a corner fire with a homeless man on an abandoned corner, dodging drug dealers and their suburban buyers, stepping around hypodermic needles and prostitutes, ultimately seeking out his little sister in the night who had gone to the store to buy candy. And he finds her in the center of a crowd of grief-stricken neighbors, paramedics, and police, another young victim of drug dealer crossfire, killed in a drive-by shooting, her tightly braided hair, her lifeless eyes wide open, lying in a pool of blood. The narrator's voice says, the people of Baltimore are in a fight. It's a fight for their future. It's a fight that we've been losing one life at a time. He continues. There are some who say it's over. Give up, we've lost. But for the strong, for the brave, this fight is not over. What will it take to make us stand together and say enough? And then come the stark white on black words, believe. Believe in us. Believe in yourself. Baltimore, believe. Now, for 3 very uncomfortable and painful weeks, we ran those ads. And we had to be honest about our present in order to change our future. We then ran ads calling upon our people to take real individual actions, to step up, mentor a child, and an hour a week can save a life. Call 1-800-BELIEVE. Join the police department. Believe in yourself. Believe in us. Call 1-800-BELIEVE. Get someone you love into drug treatment. It works, and there's more of it. Call 1-800-BELIEVE. And you know what? It did work. The people of Baltimore rallied. And of course, it wasn't about the bumper stickers or the signs, was it? It was about something deeper. The belief that there is no such thing as a spare American. Over the next 10 years, Baltimore went on to achieve the biggest reduction in Part 1 crime of any major city in America. Now, why do I share that story with you today? Because we must acknowledge where we are together in order to move forward together. Because belief is important. Belief drives action. And today, like Baltimore in 1999, we as Americans are going through a cynical time of disbelief, aren't we? A time with more excuses than action, more ideology than cooperation, more fear and anger, oftentimes, than progress. We seem to have lost, haven't we, that shared conviction we once had that we actually have the ability to make things better together. And there is today in our country a big difference between the America that we carry in our hearts and the America that we're seeing in our headlines. The America in our hearts is that land where those who work hard, who play by the rules, who get up early in the morning, can make a better future for their kids and their family. And the America in our headlines, on the other hand, is too often a place where Wall Street profits are higher than ever, the rich are richer than ever, but the paychecks of hardworking families are becoming smaller and smaller. The America in our hearts remains that nation that created the greatest middle class in the history of the world. But the America in our headlines is a nation where too many kids can't afford to go to college and too many college graduates can't find a job. And all of this, my friends, reminds me of the story of the prize fighter who's been in the ring. He's beaten against the ropes. He's getting the worst of it, pounded down by his opponent time and time again. And finally, his trainer gets a chance to sit him down in the corner. And he says to him as he looks him in the eye, you know, the problem isn't what the other guy's doing to you. The problem is what you're not doing for yourself. Whether we think we can or we think we can't, we are probably right. And I don't know about you, but I've had enough of the cynicism. I've had enough of the apathy. I've had enough of us giving into self-pity, small solutions, and low expectations of one another. So, Iowa, let's remember who we are, shall we? For 235 years, we have been the country that thrilled the world, that led the world over and over again, in large part by making ourselves stronger at home. Don't you think it's time we do it again? The patriots who made America great, they didn't pray for their president to fail. They prayed for their president to succeed. And our founders didn't belittle science. They didn't belittle learning. They aspired to it. They didn't appeal to America's fears. They inspired American courage. And they would never, ever abandon the war on poverty in order to declare a war on women, a war on workers, a war on immigrants, a war on the sick, or a war on hungry children. What was true for our parents and grandparents remains true today. America is the greatest job-generating, opportunity-expanding nation ever created in the history of the free world. But America cannot serve our children's needs, cannot serve our children's future well, if our Republican brothers and sisters in Congress keep shutting us down and selling our country short. As Democrats, as Americans, we have an urgent responsibility today. It's about jobs, it's about a stronger middle class, and it's about giving our children a better future now. The truth is, after Hoover, America needed Roosevelt. After Eisenhower, we needed Kennedy. After Reagan, we needed Clinton. And after 8 miserable years of George W. Bush, America needed Barack Obama. No president since FDR inherited a worse economy, bigger jobs losses, as many wars, or as large a deficit as President Obama did. Thanks to his leadership, thanks to the leadership of Tom Harkin and congressional Democrats, America is moving forward again. Get this month was our 51st month, in case anybody's still keeping count, of positive monthly job creation in the United States of America. In fact, it was the fourth month in a row, I think, that we actually had more than 200,000 jobs created. There were 217,000 jobs created last month, but urgent work remains to be done. And the cynical few who have hacked our democracy are digging in. Yes, these Tea Party Republicans, funded by their wealthy economic royalist friends like the Koch brothers, they see America as a small, small place, don't they? They see us as a business in decline. They look at America as a place of limited potential and limited capacity, a place that can only afford to serve the interests of the privileged few. And we've seen this view before, haven't we? Hoover called it supply-side economics. Reagan called it trickle-down economics. George W. Bush called it focusing on my base. Now, whatever they call it, it will not give our children a better future, a more prosperous future with more jobs and more opportunity for all. To those who would prescribe this future of less for America's middle class, we must ask the very real question: how much less do you think would be good for our country? Think about it. How much less education will make our children smarter? How many fewer college degrees will make our economy more competitive? How many hungry American children can we no longer afford to feed? Think about your parents and grandparents for a second. Picture their faces. They understood the essential truth of our American dream. The stronger we make our country, the more she gives back to us, to our children, and to our grandchildren. We will not solve our problems by doing less. We must do more. In Maryland, we have chosen to do more. We have answered our president's call to create new jobs and new industries, to build a modern economy, an economy with a human purpose. We've done more rather than less to improve our children's education, more rather than less to rebuild our infrastructure and create jobs, more to make college opportunity more widely available to more families. You see, like you, we believe that the foundation of any growing economy is a stronger middle class. Therefore, we increased the Earned Income Tax Credit not once but twice. We became the first state in the nation to pass a living wage. And just a few weeks ago, thank you, Tom Harkin, for your leadership, we increased the minimum wage in Maryland to $10.10 an hour. Now, why did we choose to do these things? Why did we choose to do these things? Because when workers earn more money, businesses have more customers, and our whole economy grows. This is called common sense economics. A thriving economy, a growing economy is built from the middle out and the middle up. Prosperity doesn't trickle down, and it never has. A stronger middle class is not the consequence of economic growth. A stronger middle class is the cause of all economic growth. And the proof is in the results. The proof is in the results. Maryland's creating jobs at the second fastest rate of any state in our region, about 9,000 over just the last 2 months. Not only do our people now earn the highest median income in the nation, but we're also rated one of the top states for upward economic mobility. And just last week, the United States Chamber of Commerce, hardly a mouthpiece for the Maryland Democratic Party, for the third year in a row named us the #1 state in America for innovation and entrepreneurship. But progress is also about creating a more just and a more inclusive and a more secure future for our kids, isn't it? With a belief in the dignity of every individual, we expanded and protected collective bargaining rights in Maryland. And we don't belittle our teachers. We support them. We partner with them. And with the belief in the dignity of every child's full potential, we passed the DREAM Act in Maryland, and we enjoyed passing it so much that when our Republican brothers and sisters sent it to referendum, the people of our state passed it again with 58% of the vote. And together, with the belief in the dignity of every individual, we passed marriage equality in the state of Maryland. Together, we've driven crime down to 30-year lows in Maryland, and we passed important gun safety legislation that focuses on school safety, mental health, and background checks for handgun purchases. And because climate change is real, we expanded renewable energy, accelerated energy conservation, and reduced greenhouse gas emissions. Progress is a choice. We do not move forward by chance. Hope drives belief, belief drives action, and action achieves results. Final story. I am joined here in your great state by my 16-year-old son, William O'Malley. And when William was 9 years old, I mean, my wife and I have 4 children, 2 boys, 2 girls. Rich people couldn't do better. When William was 9 years old, I was at home, and together we were watching a History Channel special about Rosa Parks, civil rights, and the Montgomery bus boycott. And as William watched the story, he turned to me and said, "Hey, Dad, back then," by which he meant sometime between the extinction of the dinosaur and the arrival of the 8-track tape. He said, "Dad, back then, somebody actually told you that some of you had to ride in the front of the bus and some of you had to ride in the back of the bus? And you guys actually listened?" And I said, "Well, William, I know it's hard to imagine, son, but that's just the way it had always been." And then he turned to me with that clear wisdom of youth, and he said, "Dad, didn't you guys realize that you were all going to the same place?" Oh, yes. The truth is, we are all going to the same place. We are all on the same bus. Iowa and Maryland, California and Mississippi. And we will move forward or we will slip back together. We will succeed or we will fail together. And we will rise or fall together. And this is not a matter, my friends, of wishing or hoping. It's a matter of belief. It's a matter of action. We are Americans, and we make our own destiny. And we will not be the first generation to give our children a country of less. And it means that Iowa must stand up. It means that Maryland must stand up. It means that each of us must stand up. And it only takes one person, and then another to stand up and say enough. Enough obstruction. Enough wasted time. Stop selling our country short. Let us achieve like Americans again. Let us lead like Americans again. And let us believe in Americans again. In ourselves, in our nation, and in one another. Together we can, together we will, and together we must. Thank you, Iowa. On to victory, on to November, on to a stronger country for our kids. Thanks a lot.